Hey, welcome back to another episode of these crazy people or person who just eat meat and can't stop talking about it. Today, I'm flying solo. And it's just Tom, little old Tom by himself. Everybody else is busy or down with a modern pestilence. So, 'tis the season, the multi-year long season of the modern pestilence. And let's see. To get things started, I was going to talk about meat prices. I was going to talk about sleep, uh, modern pestilence, gas grills and gas stoves being banned in LA. And then I had a special request from the Pagan Opera to talk about proline. The little article he found on proline, otherwise known as C5H9NO2. So, for all you techie heads out there, it's an amino acid. And the article, I don't know if I can show it. I probably can't show it because, let me see if I can pull it up without, I don't want to show, I don't want to give away anybody's identity in the group without their permission. So, anyways, I'll share the screen and then I'll go back and read the caption. So let's share the screen up right here. Loading, coming around there. You can see it with all these ads for Fitbits. I wonder why that is. So, anyways, yeah, this article says, let's see if I can zoom her in. Whoop, 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 whoop. Zooming in. Yeah, nothing like performing on the fly. All right. New study shows in humans, mice, and flies that elevated plasma levels and a diet rich in the amino acid proline causes a more severe state of depression. Cue the dramatic music. Amino acids are monomers that are the building blocks of proteins. When a person consumes food containing protein, the protein is broken down into amino acids. That's kind of like lesson 101. I hope all the carnivores out there know that. To carry out bodily functions, the body then combines the amino acids in different ways. There are 20 different amino acids, of which 9 are considered essential amino acids because they cannot be made by the body and must come from food. So, anyways, it goes on to say newly released research confirms that the link between a certain amino acid called proline and depression. Proline is a non-essential amino acid and is found in grass-fed beef, pasture-raised chickens, gelatin, bone broth, organ meats like liver, cage-free yolks. According to the study, a diet rich in proline is linked to an increased risk of depression. Researchers from Giorna Biomedical Research Institute Lab and Pompeu Fabra University in Barcelona, Spain, have discovered the role of amino acids in depression in humans, mice, and flies. It is proline, an amino acid found in the broad range of foods such as gelatin, grass-fed beef, wild-caught fish. The findings published in the scientific journal Cell Metabolism also link a proline-rich diet to an increased risk of developing depression. Dr. Jose Manuel Fernandez Real and Dr. Jordi Manieres Paracus from IDIBGI and Seberon research groups on nutritional imitabula and metabolism and health lead the study is Dr. Rafael Mandolando from Pompeu Fabra University, Neuropharmacology and Neurofar Research Group, which is affiliated with the Hospital Del Mar Medical Research Institute, IMI. Oh, look, Amsoil. Imagine that. Another professor with crazy hair. To research the conclusion, on one hand, the type amount of amino acid in the diet particip- participate participants were analyzed. The participants also completed a questionnaire to measure their depression and mood. We were surprised that what was most associated with depression elevated through the questionnaire was the consumption of proline, says Dr. Fernandez Real, blah, blah, blah. Also, head of endocrinology section at the hospital, Dr. Joseph Trueta in Garona, director, Department of Medical Sciences, University of Garona, confirming this when plasma metabolics, uh, met metabolomics were elevated. The concentration of proline emerged as one of the metabolites most associated with indicators of depression. All right, so let's tear into that. You guys can find this article at scitechdaily.com. So, anyways, let's tear into that. One, of course, naturally, we're going to say this is a associational study. So you see a high level of something and then you just automatically associate it with something. But we don't, there's so many other factors that probably haven't been accounted for. Probably thousands of factors haven't been accounted for. Oh, Harry Serpanos is here. Let's see what Harry has to say. It's associated junk, mate. Proline in the bloodstream indicates collagen breakdown and misfolded proteins. So, due to a lack of fat soluble vitamins and taurine for folding, it's reductionist nonsense. Yeah, right. I mean, what it might indicate is that, because they're looking at proline as a metabolite, right? So, um, you know, maybe elevated levels of proline aren't directly caused by the diet, but by not being able to digest the proline, or maybe the proline is supposed to serve another purpose. It's not going through that process or something. Not to mention, or not to forget, all the other things that could be going on that are causing depression. So, yeah, just another associational study that might lead people to believe that there is a connection between eating foods rich in proline and depression, when you can't really draw a conclusion anywhere close to that. You might guide research, but certainly is not establishing any sort of hard fact, right? Go take a sip. I don't have anybody else here to talk, so I just got to take a sip when I got to take a sip. Get dry mouth when I'm talking for some reason. So, anyways, there you go. Another associational study to muddy the waters. Of course, I don't know how widely read it's going to be, but hopefully not too widely read. So, anyways, yeah, just want to say one of our regular members, I won't out him because he'll probably talk about it soon, anyways. Isn't here because he went on a trip and came home with the old modern pestilence. So he's battling that. He's got the stuffy head and the cough and all that. So wasn't quite up to snuff. And then the other folks were either tied up with work or family or whatever. So, anyways, I was going to get on the topic of sleep real quick because somebody that I've been helping out, coaching, as it were, brought up the topic of sleep. I've mentioned it before. quite a while ago, probably now, but I just want to run over that. Justin and I have talked about the fitness trackers. One of the great things about the fitness tracker is it keeps track of your sleep for you. I know in my case, it kept me honest because it's like that scenario where you go to sleep and say, "Oh yeah, I was in bed for like 7.5 hours, 8 hours," but how much of that were you actually sleeping? A lot of people wake up in the middle of the night and don't remember it or whatever, or they fall asleep later and they thought they did. And that's some of the really useful data that I got from my watch. It kept me honest, like, well, I gotta spend more time in bed, I gotta do what I can to fall asleep faster. And, I kind of grew up a night owl. Um, I don't get tired easily, even though I go to the gym every day. Um, I'm more likely to want to fall asleep while I'm sitting in traffic than I am at any other time, which, falling asleep in traffic's not convenient. So, anyways, I have taken a lot of steps. I mean, sometimes I don't have my Theraspecs are at the office because I wear them sometimes, but if you're gonna be in front of a screen, you might want to wear some lenses that block out the blue light. When you're exposed to blue light, you may not produce as much melatonin. That may or may not be a trigger for everybody, but it's certainly something to look into. Turn off the screens or turn on most of the operating systems like Windows and Apple operating systems and Android and stuff like that. They have that built in now, so you can set your screens to filter out or stop producing the blue light at a certain time of day, and then go back to normal the next morning if you want. Of course, a lot of people say just don't have any electronics in your bedroom, which is not necessarily realistic for everyone. I don't really sit in bed staring at my phone or tablet or anything anyway, so that wasn't really an issue. Sometimes I am up late working on the desktop though, so I do turn on the blue light filter. And then I think in Windows it's just called night mode or something like that. The other thing I did is I got a chili pad. So a chili pad, I have the version called an Uller. If you go on, I think it's Cryo Inc. or something like that is the name of the company. But they basically it's a mattress pad that's full of little rubber tubes, and it circulates water through the tubes in the mattress pad. And what it does is it keeps heat from building up between you and your mattress. Now you can also warm yourself up if you're cold, but I use it. It's kind of nice because you're laying on your back or whatever, and your your bedding will tend to sort of insulate in some heat, and if you're not running, where I live, it's typically warm. um it's it's comfortably cool, much of the year, but starting soon, any day now, it's going to start getting hot. So, and it's not uncommon around here to have a $500 electric bill if you run the AC. And then you got all the issues of, is everybody in the house want it nice and cool, or are they freezing to death while you're just trying to stay cool while you're sleeping? So I have the chili pad. I usually crank it all the way down. I forget what the lowest temperature is, but something like 55 degrees or whatever. And it's nice, it keeps you nice and comfortable. It keeps the heat from building up in the bed. Um, sometimes I sleep with a weighted blanket. The blanket actually helps keep the warm air away. So it can actually, with the chili, in conjunction with the chili pad or Uller, it can actually help keep you cool. And I have two different weighted blankets. One is it's got like sand in it and it's warmer. And then another one is filled with glass beads. Oh, we got Phil here says going to be 105 in Phoenix later this week. Glad I have my chili pad. Ah, it's got another chili pad fan out there. Excellent. So yeah, chili pad can help you sleep better, just like cutting down on the blue light. If you can keep your room cooler, Obviously, that helps. I think most people in studies slept best when it was like 62 degrees or something like that in the room. That seemed to just kind of be generally and conducive to better sleep. But it's not always possible. So here that'd be tough. I think everybody else in the house would freeze to death. So the other thing, I use blackout curtains, so it keeps my room nice and dark. Um, Sometimes even the moonlight's too bright. Like I don't know if my eyelids are too thin or what, but you know, you get a nice bright full moon shining through the window, and that's too much light for me. So it'll drive me nuts. So I tried, Justin and I both tried the Manta, which is like a eye mask that you put on. The problem I have is well, I probably have 5 different eye masks. They all come off, like, because I roll over or whatever, and they pop off my head. Um, yeah, Phil wants to hear more about the weighted blankets. Um, yeah, so the glass bead one doesn't hold heat in. I think it's because, the sand grains are finer, and they pack together tighter, so it doesn't breathe as well. Whereas the glass bead one, which was more expensive, and I think that's the heavier one as well. So you can find the ones that are cooler, and then the cover, you generally you put a cover over, like a duvet cover, and you can buy covers that don't hold in as much heat. So the combination of the cover for it and the glass beads, which are larger than the grains of sand, but still quite heavy. It's the kind of thing. The one downside to a weighted blanket is, when you're half asleep and that thing starts sliding onto the floor in the middle of the night. Um, it can be tough to stop it because they're so heavy. You grab it when you're half asleep and you got to hold on for dear life. Hopefully it doesn't pull you out of bed. And yeah, Phil W makes a point that Chili Pad also has a blanket, so you can get a Chili Pad blanket. He says there's a weighted one, which I don't think I was aware of, but the Chili blanket also circulates water, circulates temperature controlled liquid um, through the blanket as well. So the the probably the downside to the Chili Pad or the Uller is that they're not cheap. I think I spent $700 or more to get the mattress pad in the unit. So there's a box about yay big that you put, near your bed, under your bed, or something, anywhere where it's ventilated. You put water in it, and then you plug it in. Obviously, it needs power, and it adjusts the temperature to um, of the water as it circulates. And so they have um, they have the pad that goes underneath you, and then you can also buy a blanket but they each need their own control unit. So you're looking at a significant investment, and that's just for one person. If you got another person in the bed who wants it, you could be up to 4 units. You could probably spend $3,000 in a heartbeat. So, and my first chili or Uller, the first control unit I had, it leaked, and it damaged my hardwood floors that I hand laid myself. So I was not happy, but they did replace it promptly. They sent me a new one, and then the mattress pad, there was, right where it connected to the unit, there was water that was dripping out between the insulation and the inner tube. So not not exactly a flawless experience, but still I do enjoy it. And it's tough to get over spending the money. The other thing with the unit is you're supposed to be able to control it with Wi-Fi. I got a new phone maybe 2 weeks ago. I have not been able to get my phone to talk to the control unit in the Uller. Um, they saw each other, but then now every time I turn it on, it says it can't detect the unit again. So it works both off Wi-Fi. They have your phone and the Uller unit have to be on the same Wi-Fi network, and it uses Bluetooth, and it hooks up the um, uh, Bluetooth to the phone through the Chili Pad app or Uller app. So let's see here. Let's see. Henry Sarpano said energy costs and food prices are going to get worse later than this year and maybe for the next 5 years. Yeah, I've got something to say on that. I was just on the phone with Justin talking about it, so I'll be bringing that up. Phil says I had the blanket, talking about the chili blanket, and it's not really as effective as the pad and too cumbersome. Oh, that's good to know because I haven't forked over the dough for the blanket yet. I have the same problem with eye masks, though. Good to hear that, Harry. Yeah, I don't know what the answer to that is. Maybe we need some sort of thing that just sticks to your face. I don't know. And Phil again. That's why the Chili Cube is better. It has a nice remote. Yeah, I could see that. Just having a remote for the Chili Pad rather than trying to use a phone app. That that might be the ticket. Then Phil also says I turn off Wi-Fi at night. Also, well, yeah, there you go. And Stranded 360 says, "Where's my compadre?" Well, one compadre has a modern pestilence, the one that we shall not name. One is at another job. Another is in another video, and another ran out of gas and wasn't able to make it. Just had too much going on. So yeah, I don't know if you guys know, but I started this channel by myself, but then I met Justin Giebler, All Out Life Carnivore, and then Joe Zumbo and Raymond Azan and Emily Penton, and we all used to do videos. All of us used to do them together all the time, and then we all got busy, and so now it's hit and miss. I'm going to try and do a video with Justin and Joe tomorrow. So will probably be another video coming out. Probably won't be a live stream, but it might be. Um, and so we'll get a little more content out. So again, this is a live stream. They're usually long format for people who don't know, if people are new. But we also do the short ribs. Usually it's Justin and I do short ribs where we do a short, concise video. They can be 10 minutes or maybe a half an hour at the longest, where we talk about one specific topic and just try and help people understand one specific thing and focus on that and be concise. That's our goal. So we always want to be entertaining, tell a little joke, talk about how our weighted blankets want to get affected by gravity more than we'd like. But anyways, let's see what else we got here. So Stranded 360 asked, how did you learn you could be on the spectrum? Do you think carnivore helps your issues? What else helps you besides carnivore? So wow. Let me finish sleep real quick because I just had a couple more points, and I actually was going to talk about that today. Stranded 360. I don't know. He said Roger, so I'm not sure if that's his name or if he's saying copy. Roger. But anyways, let me run through sleep real quick, and then I'll get straight to autism because I probably don't talk about it enough, and I really would like to help the community out there more. So don't worry. I enjoy the questions, Stranded 360. So keep them coming. Fortunately, I got a nice list here. So even if there's a lot of questions, I can scroll back through. So feel free to ask away or make suggestions or put in your own 2 cents. So anyways, when it comes to sleep, so temperature, darkness, blue light, especially, the other problem is some people have a chili bench to use in the topics. It was nice and no power required. Oh, so Harry's got Thomas, have you seen the chili mattress? I used one in the tropics. It was nice and no power required. I don't know what they use. Oh, no, I haven't seen that. I'll have to look into that. So another thing is a mattress. So one of the fellows I've been coaching, he told me he's like his mattress is worn out and uncomfortable, so he was searching for another one. I happen to have a Casper right now. Been happy with it, but I did get a topper for it, and it's actually a topper that dissipates heat. So it's like, a big foam mattress with another layer of foam on it. And I know a lot of not it's not for everybody. They're worried about the chemicals and stuff like that. But I sleep better on it. And when you're big like I am, you got to have some place for your shoulders to sink in. So, I sleep with a lot of pillows too. So, like, if I'm sleeping on my side, I stack a bunch of pillows up, put my arm on, rest my arm, so I'm comfortable. And I put a firm foam pillow between my knees too, because it helps keep your pelvis, perpendicular to your spine. So, doesn't so your back your spine is nice and straight. It's not off kilter. So gotta people like me, you gotta have some place for your hips and your shoulders to go when you're sleeping. When I'm sleeping on my back, I don't even need a pillow because I sink in and my head the mattress is right there. When I'm on my side, I sleep with a really skinny pillow. And then I think we talked about this a little bit too in the past that um not that drinking alcohol is carnivore, but if you are going to drink alcohol, you want it out of your system before you go to sleep because it will keep your heart rate elevated. Of course, caffeine will do the same thing, or at least most people. Um, if your heart rate when you're sleeping doesn't go down below your daytime resting heart rate, you won't recover as well. So, especially if you're working out or if you had a long day, um, I want to recover because I want to go back to the gym again. So I kind of keep my workouts so that I can go every day, which isn't advisable for everybody, but it's important for my routine. I'm kind of routine driven. So I want to work out enough and then sleep enough so that I'm ready to do something different the next day. So that's important to me. So, what else is there? I guess said enough about sleep, but of course, sleep is very important. A lot of people that wind up coaching, you find out that they're not sleeping enough, or they don't know how much they're sleeping, or they don't have any idea how much they should be sleeping. So that's a good place to start. It's kind of like trying to figure out um, uh, how much fat or protein uh, you should eat, right? What's the right ratio and what's the right quantity? So, I'm a bigger person. The person I was coaching is even bigger than I am, and I had to get him to understand he's not an average person. He's not going to be okay on 1,500, 1,800, 2,000, even 2,400 calories a day, and that's what most of the advice is out there. And when you're a really large person and you need a lot of fuel, because I've said before, like a light day for me is like 4,000, 4,200 calories, and a big day for me is like 6,500 calories. So try sitting down and eating 6,500 calories worth of fat at one time. Most people can't handle that. So anyways, let's get back to the autism question from Stranded 360. So yeah, I didn't find out that I was on the spectrum until I was an adult. I was roughly 38 when I got diagnosed. So it just so happened that a friend of mine told me she thought I was on the spectrum, and I thought she's insane. And to be honest with you, I didn't really know that much about autism then. I mean, I uh, didn't really know that much about Asperger's or high functioning autism or whatever. I'd seen the occasional documentary on, savants or whatever and stuff like that, but I didn't really know that much about it. I, Obviously, I'd had some friends with kids who were autistic and stuff like that. So, But of course, it's a very, very broad range. So what happened was this friend told me, "Oh no, you're just like my ex-husband. You do this, you do that," and I thought she was crazy. And so there's kind of a long version of the story, but the shorter version is that I mentioned it to my healthcare provider, and they're like, "Well, I don't know, I don't think so, but we have a process, a screening process, so have you screened?" And then the screening process indicated that I was, so they sent me to a specialist, a doctor who um, diagnoses adults, high functioning adults. I'm sure other people as well, but I don't know that person's complete, complete expertise, as it were. But so, anyways, I talked. That person interviewed me. I don't know, 3 times, something like that, and then diagnosed me with autism. And it literally says autism, probably Asperger's, because of course they combine them in um, uh, the what the hell is that book called? I can't remember now. The I have an older version of it up there, but anyways, yeah. So there's and a lot of people take it very personally that they rolled autism and Asperger's together, but I don't really take a stance one way or the other. I can clearly see the similarities, and I don't spend too much time splitting hairs. So that's how I got diagnosed. And there wasn't a lot that my healthcare provider wasn't really doing anything other than the same time my anxiety disorder came to light or was diagnosed or understood it. I became aware of it at that point, which I um hadn't really understood that either. So but there wasn't really much that my healthcare provider uh did was yeah, the DSM. Thanks, Stranded. Yeah. So I think if you look at the DSM-4, autism and Asperger's are separate, and then we get to DSM-5, and they've been rolled together. So, um, but I mean, that book's really just a catalog, right? And it lists like standard treatments and coding and stuff like that. So, I don't necessarily take it personally. So, I don't really have a dog in that fight. Oh, don't tell the vegans I said that. So, anyways, what I did do at that point was start learning more about it because at that point it was sort of a personal thing. For it takes a long time to sort of wrap your head around that, and you doubt it in the beginning. And I think Carol Bird did a video not too long ago, 6 months ago. It's just like, do you have imposter syndrome? And she was talking about imposter syndrome as opposed to, in the terms of being diagnosed as a high functioning adult or something like that, and then um, wondering if you really belong in the spectrum. If but and there was people in my life that I knew for a long time were like, oh, I don't see it, I don't know. And some of these people are associated with uh, you know uh, special ed, their special ed teachers or their therapists or whatever, but none of them were necessarily qualified to diagnose an adult, much less they don't work with adults with autism. So, anyways, over time I accepted it. And even though, some of the people I know rejected it, at the end of the day, my family, my friends, they don't talk about it. So it doesn't really come up. Uh, both my parents are alive, then I told them about it and they never said another word. So my father's still alive, but I don't even knowing him, he probably doesn't even remember I told him. So let's see. Let's see. Bit off subject. Let's see. This is from PC. I think PC. I don't remember seeing you comment before, but thanks for coming. Likewise, Stranded 360. I think you might be new as well. Bit off subject, but I wake up every 2 to 3 hours with lower leg or top of front foot cramp. Sorry, top of foot cramp. Tried supplements, electrolytes to no avail. 65-year-old male, carnivore for 3.5 years, keto 2.5 years before that. Any ideas? Well, yeah, I mean, typically it's electrolytes, but every once in a while you come across somebody who doesn't seem to be electrolytes. For me, the fix is more sodium. I know magnesium deficiencies are detected in people quite commonly, and so that's kind of a go-to. Um, but for me, I sodium, and when it's really hot, or if you get sick and you get diarrhea and vomiting, or you're sweating a lot, or you're drinking a lot of liquids and you're urinating a lot, that'll trigger it. If you're, caffeine will do it. A lot of medications will do it. All the diuretics will cause it. For me, it's like half a teaspoon of salt in a glass of water before workouts, and then I don't notice it. And oddly enough, if you do work out, if you do exercise, you tend to perform a lot better, whether you're lifting or I know Joe does it before cycling and probably does it before running. He's into running now. So I would try to start with sodium, and then you can always add in. You can get like I'll use what I know I'm gonna be sweating a lot or drinking a lot of water, because just drinking a lot of water will flush out your system and your electrolytes can drop. When you stop eating carbohydrates, you don't retain as much sodium. You kind of have a little extra sodium bank because it's got to balance out the carbohydrate metabolism. And when the carbohydrate metabolism goes away, you tend to lose that water weight, right? And out goes your sodium buffer that your body's been holding on to. So you don't have that extra layer, and a lot of people aren't used to that. So I if I'm planning ahead and I know I'm going to be drinking a lot of water or sweating a lot or working a lot, because if I do work my calf muscles a lot, I can get a cramp. I can get a cramp while I'm working out, but that's usually lifting, it's probably putting an extra, 200, 300 pounds on them, or whatever, depending on the angle, but also at night. So I will take water with definitely some sodium in it. You can get the no salt, at least in the United States. It's a salt substitute that has potassium in it. You don't want to overdo the potassium, could be dangerous. And then bicarbonate, which is baking soda, and you can stir in the bicarbonate and get the fizz out so you don't get any bloating. That can help too. And then magnesium, I just use a tiny bit of the Epsom salt, the edible Epsom salt in there to get the magnesium. So you don't want too much magnesium, and you get diarrhea. So let's see. Let's get caught up here. No, I have been a few times, but Stranded has been here before. Well, I'm glad you commented. Let's see. Phil W says, I have the same issue trying taurine to see if that helps with regulating electrolytes. Chronic night cramps for several years. Carnivore, just started taurine supplements and better last night. So there you go. Maybe taurine. Maybe you're not getting enough taurine out of your food or something, or maybe some people just need more taurine. So, let me circle back. Hopefully that covers it. There are all kinds of electrolyte supplements you can get out there that you can just in a packet and dump it in water. I don't use them because I already had salt, potassium, magnesium, and bicarbonate. I even have borax, so you can put a tiny bit of borate in there, and not necessarily as a doesn't necessarily affect your electrolyte levels, but maybe a good supplement. So I already had all that stuff laying around. I did a video on electrolytes a while back, and I talked about it there. So there's lots of information, but I would start with that. And it seems to me, oddly enough, even though magnesium is one that tends to be lower, people tend to benefit from sodium more. So whatever that is, just sort of an observation. So back to the autism thing. Yes, being on carnivore made a big difference. I was keto for at least 6 months before carnivore. I I never write these dates down, so I don't remember exactly when it happened. But I started going low carb at the end of 2016 was when I started reading the books and learning about it. My friend was doing the same thing. We were comparing notes, and then by beginning of 2017, I was keto. Somewhere towards the end of 2017, I was meat curious, shall we say. I just wanted to eat meat, and that's when I discovered that there's all these carnivore people out there. And then I think it was early 2018 was when Sean Baker was on Joe Rogan, and I was like, holy crap. I didn't even realize he was the guy that started World Carnivore Tribe on Facebook. I was already in there. Phil Scott's group. Was it 100% Carnivore and Beyond? Oh, sorry, Phil. I can't remember the name of your group. So, anyways, yeah, I started getting to know those guys, and learning about it. Of course, all the other people, Kelly Hogan and Charles Washington, and reading about Bear Owsley and um, what is it, Carnivore Zen, and I can't remember the other group now, but there was a couple of websites that are popular along with the Facebook groups, and I just started eating meat, and I loved it. I loved it. So I think one day I was cooking up some bacon or something when I was keto, and I was like, what would happen if I just ate this bacon? And I'd have this conversation with couple of relatives that we had people in the family that like they ate their bacon. They ate a half a pound of bacon every morning and they lived into their hundreds, so you're always running up against those anecdotal stories that people just ate a lot of meat, even bacon, processed meat, and they lived longer, well beyond the expected lifetime, and were healthy to the end, still had their marbles, still were ambulatory. So I noticed the more more meat I ate, the better I felt, and it seemed like I was more outgoing. So if you go back to some of my old videos, because I started doing YouTube videos because my friends were like, "Oh, you're doing so good. You should do a YouTube channel." And I was like horrified because I wasn't particularly social, and I'm social with my friends, my family, but you know, I'm not the kind of person I wanted to be public, as it were. So, I did my old videos, which I used to call the ketogenic fasting project. Um, I didn't even appear on camera because I wasn't comfortable with that. I wasn't outgoing enough. So I just kind of narrate the slides and stuff like that. Back then I was consuming a lot of books, usually audiobooks, because I'm dyslexic as well. That's another thing, that dyslexia has improved greatly. I mean, you guys just saw me reading off that screen. I could not have done that before. I know it wasn't flawless, but even when we started reading Wilhelm Stephenson's Not by Bread Alone, or we started near, I did that with A Black Carnivore and a bunch of other people. We got Sean to read a chapter and stuff like that. I was really nervous about doing that because reading had been so challenging. Like I can read short amounts at a time, and then everything. I mean, you try and force yourself to keep reading, you literally can get nauseated. Much less, like when I was a kid, I was like I wanted to learn to play an instrument, and looking at a page of music, it was like looking at flies walking around on the page. Like you couldn't figure out how to get across a line without losing your place. Like you couldn't even stay on the same measure. And then you just try and go back to the other side of the page and figure out which one's the next line. It was hopeless. And you can't really keep the music notes in context when you're looking at them. So reading, there's all kinds of, I was in this program and that program and stuff like that. And it never really was, um, never really progressed past a certain point. It still read really slow and stuff like that. And then remembering things like PIN numbers or phone numbers were impossible. So I just it's probably about 3 years ago now. I noticed one day I was talking to my boss, and she's like, "Oh, we got to call that company back, blah blah blah." And I just happened to remember the phone number off the top of my head without even trying, and I was like, I remember the entire phone number in order, which is amazing because it's not just mixing up the order, but trying to keep like one phone number separate from another. That another phone number that you looked at in the same sort of period of time, let's say, winds up getting mixed together, you know. So and of course the order is an issue. So then I noticed I could read better. I could remember numbers and spelling's always been a huge issue. Anybody who follows me must see a zillion typos still, but um, I became more outgoing. In fact, it was in 2018. Um, Dr. Sean Baker was competing in the world indoor rowing championships. Happened to be in Long Beach, California. The University of Long Beach is not far from where I live. And I remember telling my girlfriend, I'm like, I want to go to that. And she's like, you want to go to a public event willingly? She was like, who are you? So that's how drastic the change was. That I don't know, whatever that was, that anxiety or whatever, or the complexity of going to public events. And then I'll talk to Sean online a bunch of times, um, just through social media and stuff like that. And, but then I went there and actually met him. Of course, I knew who he was. I was because we talked and stuff. But I went there and I met people. I filmed him rowing, took some pictures and stuff like that. It was a good time. But that was a different me. Normally when I go to an event like that, it's because one of my friends like, oh, I got tickets, you got to go, and I'd go to a ball game or something once every few years or whatever, or I go socialize with people that I already know really well, that I'm really comfortable with, and I started doing that stuff. So, and I noticed since I got diagnosed with anxiety, same time I got diagnosed with autism, I started noticing the anxiety got better and better and better. So, oh, hi, Vanessa. So, so yeah, it has affected it. So, eh, I think the digestive issues, I want to say my estimation is that autistic people on autistic spectrum tend to have more digestive issues than everyone else, as bad as everyone else's could be. So, um, let's say, I had a lot of heartburn and probably, I was used to my digestion being uncomfortable, a little pain here, I don't know, bloating there, gas is normal, everybody. But it seems like, when you talk to a lot of people on the spectrum or you observe people even who can't talk, they seem to have tremendous digestive issues. They tend to have really restrictive diets, which, of course, eating raw steak every day is fine with me because I don't really want a complicated diet, anyways. Although I did have some hot links today. So let's see. If you read Gap's diet, that's pretty much the theory that she posits, that it's all from imbalance in the gut. Yeah. So that's Dr. God, what's her name? Um, Anyways, doesn't matter. Yeah, the Gap site, and of course, I've met lots and lots of autistic people or their families or caretakers who tried the GAPS diet. It's my impression is, and of course, this is just my personal impression. I'm not really an expert. That the GAPS diet just doesn't go far enough. It can be helpful, but it doesn't go far enough. So, um, the I think that you know what's going on is the diet makes the autistic symptoms worse. The wrong diet does. Does it necessarily cause it? Probably not. Although, there is that study that showed that mothers with high A1C values, or hemoglobin A1C numbers, I forget the cutoff, but probably like 6 and over, they are many times more likely to give a birth to an autistic child. So, is it what comes first? We don't know. Is it the high A1C value causing the brain to develop differently, or are people that carry those genes more likely to have high A1C values? I don't think we know for sure. I mean, of course, having a high A1C value is a bad thing. So, can't hurt to bring it down, right? And there is again an association there, and we don't know exactly what that means. Just like there's an association between high um uh, uh God, and I'm blanking again, but there's all kinds of associations with abnormal blood levels in autistic people. It'll come to me in a second. Trying to think of oh, anyways. I don't want to lose everybody. But we don't know why. We don't know if those people aren't able to eliminate those compounds as readily, or if the high levels are making the autistic symptoms worse or whatever. But you got to remember, a lot of research has shown that you can actually see the abnormal sort of autistic brain formations in MRIs in utero. So the process, oh yeah, Natasha McBride. Thanks, Stranded. Yeah. So she's the GAPS lady, the GAPS doctor. So you can see that happening in utero. So you could say, well, maybe it's the mother's diet, but we also see trends in genetics. And I'll be controversial and say that I think um, part of the thing that affects the development and probably determines on how the brain develops and how autism manifests is related to the immune system. So um, it's entirely possible that immunological therapies cause a reaction in the mother or the child that make the expression of the autism worse. And so I think that is triggered through the immune system. So you can kind of draw your own conclusion. I've done videos about it before. So I think there's a relationship there. I don't think it necessarily is the root cause, but I think it makes it worse, just like the diet does. So I know there's people that are either 100% one way or the other, but again, we see associations, but we don't have the proof yet, and I think that's because it's complicated. So why does the brain develop differently? Why are some pathways so much more robust than others, and some why are some developmental issues stunted? you know that's a very complicated sort of question, and I don't think it comes down to just inflammation, right? I don't think it comes down to just an immune system reaction. I don't think I'd be surprised if it came down to just high A1C values. And for people out there unfamiliar with HbA1c, that's a study where they look at the damaged red blood cells in your blood to see how much they've been damaged by high blood glucose. So again, it's not a good thing. It's everybody kind of understands that you want to get those levels down. I guess what's our goal? Like to get them under 5 or something like that. So I haven't had mine done in a while, so I'll get it checked, but I'm sure it's fine because I don't eat a whole lot of carbs. So anyways, yeah, maybe as people have been mentioning taurine, maybe taurine will help with the with the leg cramps. Maybe it helps with the electrolytes. Maybe it'll help with a lot of other things. So anyways, what else was on the topic? Oh yeah, I want to talk about the price of food. So I had an interesting conversation with a friend. I got a friend who's been doing a lot of hunting lately. So a lot of the ranches out here where they hunt, they actually buy animals They'll buy, pigs and turn them loose, and they become feral very fast. If anybody doesn't know, and they'll have some tamer pigs that are like maybe for first time hunter or something. Somebody just wants to get a big meat animal, and they have all kinds of things. They have pigs and sheep and goat and stuff like that. It's usually the pigs and stuff like that that people hunt around here because they can live out here, like in the Riverside area, out in the Badlands. But the fellow owns the ranch isn't able to get animals, so people that would drive into California to auction off pigs and stuff like that, cattle from New Mexico, Nevada, Arizona, and so on and so forth, Colorado, they're not coming because they're getting so much money for those animals back home. And of course, the price of fuel and the price of feed and everything, people are getting more money for their animals close to home so they don't have to truck them all the way here. So it's not just the commercial industry, but the smaller industries as well. They're suffering because of the food prices, gas prices, and so on and so forth. So let's see. Stranded 360 says, what do you think of supplements? Have you ever taken any? Do you take any? Though I understand it's not necessarily a carnivore diet, was just curious if you found any beneficial. So my stances on supplements is if you got a good reason to think you need to supplement, then go ahead and try it out. But don't I see a lot of people just buying into the conversation or people pimping stuff on the internet. Like my favorite example is um, vinegar, the apple cider vinegar. They have the world's greatest marketing group. They must infiltrate every single group on Facebook that has anything to do with health or fitness. And, you'll see them in every group, every category. There's some reason to take apple cider vinegar. And obviously everybody does not need to be drinking apple cider vinegar. So, um, like I said, I know a lot of people, that actually order blood tests and stuff. They say magnesium is a common deficiency and stuff like that. So sure, it has its place. And of course, getting the right magnesium supplement is tricky because the magnesium oxide, which is the most common one, is one of the least effective. It's hard to absorb. It commonly causes diarrhea. Um, I have tried magnesium glycinate in the past. It worked pretty good. I think Justin uses that. Um, I don't really supplement other than adding, drinking salt water and like I said, sometimes I put other stuff in it like potassium or whatever. Most of the time I don't bother because I don't seem to need it. And most of my food now is just raw steak. I eat a lot of raw New York strips or strip loins, and I don't even salt them. It's weird when I cook meat, I kind of like salt on it, but when I don't cook it, I don't. So I'm not getting that salt that I used to get from just salting my meat. Not that I'm a stranger to like I'll eat ham or something that's brined or bacon or even sliced turkey or whatever. All that stuff has a bunch of sodium in it. They don't. None of that makes up a large portion of my diet because it's mostly steak. Sometimes it's ground beef too, but I don't really supplement. I have tried all kinds of supplements in the past. I'm not opposed to experimenting, but I don't want to make it sound like people need all that stuff without some compelling reason. That's kind of my where I draw the line. I mean, if you had a lack of energy or something and you used to be a heavy drinker or you drank coffee every day, I tried supplementing with B1, which I think is riboflavin, isn't it? So I know a lot of people when they've been B1 deficient for a long period of time, they that your body's kind of adapts to being without it, and just taking a little won't necessarily get your body back in the habit of utilizing it. So you take big doses or whatever. I gave that a try at one point, but it didn't bother. I got to a certain point and didn't bother taking it anymore. I've done some videos on throwing out supplements because even when I was keto, it was like taking all kinds of supplements, trying this, trying that, blah 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 blah. I can't even remember them all now, but yeah, now I don't really. If I had a reason, I would, but I think there's a lot of people buying a lot of pills, of all kinds, who don't need them. And I mean, you could always talk to your doctor, get a blood test. You could get the test for magnesium's a real quick one. I had that done a long time ago because I was questioning it. Um, yeah, so there you go. You had headaches and you tried. I was talking to Vanessa. She commented right here. I tried different B vitamins to see if it would help with headaches. So yeah, I think that's reasonable. And B vitamins, if I'm not mistaken, are water soluble, so they wash out and don't accumulate if you accidentally take too much. So I don't hear too many people about taking too much B vitamin. And B vitamins, B12, B1, they aren't, deficiencies aren't that uncommon. Um, and part of the reason is you start a new diet like carnivore, but what are you bringing? What sort of deficiencies are you bringing with them? If you've been deficient in something for a long time, eating a steak isn't going to fix that necessarily. So, you could have deficiencies, or you could have some special circumstances, whether it be, your past diet or some illness or genetics, perhaps, that maybe you need something extra. Um, I mean, me personally, I like to just lift, and I just lift to lift. So, I'm not your average person. So, I'm not one thing I have supplemented, now that I think about it, is protein. So sometimes I will I will use whey isolate protein. So I guess that technically is a supplement, and that's more a matter of convenience than anything else. So there's, I think it's called Naked. I have a great big jar of this stuff that's grass fed, um, grass fed whey isolate. So it's just kind of one of those things where you want to get a little extra protein in, and you're in a hurry. It's easy to drink in the car. So I spend a lot of time in traffic. So my life kind of revolves around that. That's why I do a lot of meal prep ahead of time. So I go get the steak, I cut it into bite-sized pieces, and most of it goes into the freezer. And I have these glass containers they have plastic locking lids with a little gasket on them, seal. But your food doesn't really come in contact with the plastic when you're packing it that way. And so I don't know, so worried about the plastic because the food itself is in the glass, and I don't cook it in there either. That's another thing. If you heat stuff up in the microwave, try not to melt the plastic, or try not to heat it up in plastic at all, because you'll notice that particularly around the top edge, if there's any liquid in there, the plastic will melt. You'll see little bubbles in the plastic, so you could be getting that plastic in your food. And there's all the crazy chemicals, and there's xenoestrogens and stuff like that in plastics. So they get your system to act like estrogen. So then they're throwing off your hormone levels, which isn't good for anybody to have some sort of external influence like that. So it's something to avoid if you can. But yeah, try supplements if you really have a problem to solve, if you have some reason to think you need them, but don't just that's my stance. My personal stance too is don't just take supplements if you don't have a reason. So yeah, that's that. When I first found out I was on the spectrum, and I was like realized I was new. I didn't sleep very well, and when I realized what anxiety was, I'm like, oh yeah, I got that. I did try all kinds of things. There's lots of people in the autistic community that try lots of things, that like, because they want to feel better, and most of it was, sort of neurotropic kind of things, to help focus and stuff. Because that's one thing, anxiety does is it's constantly interrupting your focus. It's constantly influencing your decisions. So, trying to get away from that, and trying to improve your acuity was always sort of my goal. And I mostly did tried different things off of tips from other people. Oh, I tried this and it helped, or whatever. But now, not really. I mean, if sometimes like I do want to enjoy some coffee, particularly on the weekends. So, and I was worried, like, oh man, am I depleting my B1 or something? So if I drank a bunch of coffee, I might take some B1 or whatever, but I haven't really done it in a while. So yeah, I mean it's all an individual journey, anyways. I mean we all got to sit down and figure out how to solve our problems. So if you got problems, maybe supplementation is something you want to do, right? So see, Strand 360 says not pitching anything, but I take this stuff called Focus Formula. It really does help my memory focus. Took me a long time to find something that was consistent in working. Oh, well, that's good. You know, along that lines, I did try SAMe, and I did notice, like in the beginning, the SAMe kind of gave me a little extra spark, but I don't know. After I took it for like a month or two, it seemed like that spark never went away. So that might have been addressing some sort of deficiency or something. I'm not really sure. So, but um, outside of Sammy being kind of on the expensive side, I didn't really find any downside to it. So, um, yeah, I used to do a lot more experimenting. I mean, I kind of I don't I don't discourage people from experimenting on themselves if they're willing to live with the consequences. And most of the consequences with trying a supplement or something are pretty small. In fact, the biggest downside tends to be spending the money. So anyways, yeah, I like a good experiment, but I don't want to tell everybody else to go out and experiment if they don't have a good reason. Because at the end of the day, we want everybody to feel better. That's really what it's all about. So aside from just the autistic symptoms of the anxiety and the um, lack of desire to go public places and meet new people and stuff like that. I mean, I still to some degree will avoid some social events. So, um, but at the same time, it's kind of I don't know if that's necessarily an autistic thing or just being a little more choosy, but it's probably both, to be honest. So, but I did notice that I engage people a lot better. I'm not necessarily saying I interpret all the social signs or body language as well, but I'm a lot more observant. Um, I've always been good at listening, but not necessarily as good at interpreting what I was hearing. So that has definitely increased. And I'm not really sure why, but I can read social situations much better than I did before. So I know a lot of times I was kind of like, I'd misunderstand what people meant, and that's gotten better. So, um, I do still do that thing where somebody's talking to me and I'm not looking at them. And I noticed the other day I was talking to my like I just put solar on my house, so that's a big deal to me. But anyways, I was talking to the electrician and he's standing at the electrical panel talking about this and that. And I kept staring past him into the backyard and he's like, "What are you looking at? What do you?" I'm like, "Oh, I just noticed I got to trim that tree back there." you know, because I realized he wasn't familiar with that. And I get my boss sometimes too. He's like, he'll be talking to me, and I'm looking at the floor or something, and he's like, "What are you doing?" So I don't know, but I do find it easier to look at people when they're talking and stuff like that. It's not as I don't even know what that aversion is about because I wouldn't say that uh, I wouldn't say that looking people in the eye could ever cause me anxiety or anything, but there is that weird sort of um, natural tendency to not look at people in the eye or not look at people in general. So I don't know what that is, but it's gotten a lot better. So and two, I understand better now that most people don't do that. So I have my excuses like, oh, I was just thinking. I was just concentrating. I like that joke. There's an old joke from a comedian that nobody wants to talk anymore about because he's a terrible human being. But he's he used to have this joke, and he'd just say, "Oh, yeah, dates are up there, and names and places are down there." So I was still use that joke, even though we shall not speak of that person anymore. So, so yeah, so whatever that is. Let's see, Stranded 360 says, I've gotten a lot better with eye contact, but I also feel like I focus better if I'm not trying to focus on their face. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's because the face is always changing. You know, the eyes are moving, the mouth is moving, the eyebrows are twitching around. I don't know. Maybe maybe that's it. Maybe looking at the floor, it's not changing is easier. I don't know. It's just not as distracting. Oh, so Stranded 360 says um he could tune in with his ears better. Yeah, I know a big thing for me in the past was not being able to tune anything out, whether it was visual or auditory or whatever, or tactile. And I don't know necessarily if I tune them out as well. I still like to work in a dark office with the door closed. That's still my preference. Right now, I'm sitting in a dark room with the door closed. So, but I do notice that if I'm having a conversation with somebody and there's a bunch of noise going on or something, I can pick out what they're saying better than I used to. So I can't do it if multiple people are talking to me at the same time. I'm still just gonna get little bits. But anyways, the other thing was in order to concentrate, I used to always like back in the day, it was like talk radio. So there's a conversation going on the radio. I'm listening to that and focusing on my work. And if I could confine everything to those two inputs, I could do really well. I could listen to both of them at the same time and flow through my work. And if I didn't have the radio or something on music or talking or whatever, it was much harder to concentrate for some reason. And now it doesn't really matter. Not I like to listen to music or something when I'm working, but I don't need it like I used to. So whatever that is too. And I'll say something about my habits of like routine. So I'm kind of routine oriented, and that's one of the reasons why meal prepping and eating raw steak works for me. But when my routine's interrupted, it's far less alarming than it used to be. I mean, I still prefer it, but it doesn't derail me like it used to. So for sure, I'm way more robust. So, I guess in all fairness, I should say that I used to have something like meltdowns. I didn't really think of it as meltdowns because I wasn't familiar with the verbiage, so having a meltdown or I used to do a lot of scripting. I still do, where you're just repeating things over and over again. Um, but I tend to, when there's stressful situations and stuff like that, I tend to be way more robust. So it's like I don't have the temper I used to. I don't have the like, I don't shut down or anything. So I'll just keep going. Um, yeah, I even noticed that, people around me that are not on the spectrum, they for lack of a better term, they lose their shit really fast. And I'm like, I'm still holding on, no problem. I mean, I can look at things very clearly and just go, "Whoop, this is the next step now. Just got to do this. Got to fix whatever." Oh, fire started. Just put the fire out. That's what it is. Where other people are get discouraged and exasperated really easy, and it's upsetting to them, and they're disappointed. And their disappointment becomes this big deal. And for me, I kind of like I'm on the other side of that, where it's like I understand we all have feelings, but a lot of our feelings aren't doing us any good, right? So you're gonna let the feelings steer the boat, or are you just going to grab that rudder and say, well, in spite of the way I feel, I'm going to do the thing I know is better, right? And how long am I going to be upset about it? I don't know, but it's not going to get in the way of me doing what I got to do, right? I mean, so I guess it's a matter of putting logic before the emotional reaction. It's just this is just clearly this is emotions, this is everything else. you know. Oh, I'm feeling this way, but I'm going to do this instead, And I see a lot of people, even in conversation. I mean, I think it's typical for most people to want to defend their feelings, no matter whether they're rational or not. Feelings are such a big deal these days. Everybody's feelings have to be validated and blah, 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 blah. And I'm more like, well, I get where you're coming from. I get where I'm coming from, but it's clearly we should be doing something else right now other than talking about our feelings. There's nothing wrong with talking about them, but when that's all you're doing, you're not getting much done, are you? So, and there is that certain thing of, even doing mundane things helps you process things, process your thoughts, process, uh, remember things. In fact, what I was trying to talk about earlier when we were talking about autism and people having higher blood levels, something I was thinking of oxalates. So there's a study. I don't know if I have the study, but um, people on the spectrum tend to have higher level of oxalates or oxalic acid in their system. And we don't know, is that because they're not processing it out, or does their diets contain more oxalates? We don't know. Does it cause autism somehow, or does it make the symptoms worse? Is it because they have high levels that their symptoms are worse? We don't know. Nobody knows. It's just one of those curious things. Um, just like higher levels or lower levels of other things, or back to that study we started with Purine. It's like we don't know. We don't know what context that information is relevant. So anyways, let's see. Was there anything else on the list? Where's the list? I don't know if I have anything on the list. We might have covered all the topics. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Let's see. I talked about sleep, meat prices, modern pestilence. Anybody else out there got the modern pestilence right now? Um, Justin sent out an article talking about how new construction in Los Angeles will not be allowed to have any gas burning appliances, apparently. So there you go. Well, here in the Southland, they put a lot of pressure on people to put solar on. They just keep raising the electric bills, so that eventually everybody has to get solar. So, and they take that money and they put it into all these programs. Because you live in Southern California, or California period, only like 7% of the power is generated in California. The rest of it comes from out of state. And of course, California wants to lead the way in green energy and all that stuff. So, anyways, yeah, they're banning like gas burning appliances in new construction in LA. So Justin was wondering if that was going to affect like new like Korean barbecue places and stuff like that, where you're cooking your food right at the table. And of course, I gotta wonder in general if that's going to affect restaurants. You can have electric grills, electric fryers, electric everything in the kitchen. I don't know. A lot of chefs cook on gas stoves, so that'll be interesting to see how that affects. Now, I'll say it. I've got an electric car. I've got solar panels on my roof, but I don't think all the pressure that's put upon us by government to do what we're doing. They started all these mandates in California a while back to pass some bill, the renewable energy bill or something like that, and they want to be self-sufficient in California by 2035. I think some of these things go in effect all the way out to 2045. So well out in the future, but I can imagine people 20 years from now are going to go, who the hell imposed these regulations? And they'll blame us people nowadays, but most of us never even have heard of them before. So till it affects you, yeah, it may not be on your awareness, but I can imagine legislation like this will creep around everywhere. So, anyways, yeah, I talked about no gas appliances in Los Angeles. Gas prices downtown LA are like $8 a gallon. Fortunately, I live out in the burbs, so gas prices aren't quite that bad. They're like $6 a gallon out here, maybe a little less. I'm sure everybody's feeling that pinch. So, anyways, that's just going to contribute to the food prices, right? Fuel prices are higher, feed prices are higher. So, um, Harry mentioned that earlier. Fuel prices and food price probably be elevated for what do you say, about 6 years at least. So, yeah, I guess it's a good time for everybody to saddle up and go talk to their farmer, try and buy direct, try and keep things local. Start shopping for ranch with lots of grass. So, anyways, anybody else want? Let's see. My friend posted mid 8 in Cali at some tourist spot. Yeah. So the fuel tends to be more expensive, like downtown LA, towards the middle of Los Angeles. It's not quite so bad out in the periphery. So, but yeah, $6, $7, $8 a gallon is not unheard of. So, I do have gas powered vehicles, but I also have an electric car. I drive the electric car all the time. One of the things about sitting in traffic is that when you're in a gas powered car, you're still idling. Well, some of the newer cars, when you're stopped and the engine turns off and stuff like that, which is I'm sure helpful. But none of my gas powered cars are that new, so I'd be sitting on the freeway just idling, and occasionally here. Oh, PC's in New Zealand, so here in NZ we are paying $3 per liter for gas, so that's about $12 a gallon. Ouch. Yeah, so that's a lot. So anyways, back to the electric car. So I'm trying to think. This is about my 6th year driving that car, so I've had it a little over 5 years, 5.5 years. PC says he bicycles to work. Well, I wish I could bicycle to work. I think it's about 30 miles. Um, I couldn't imagine trying to get there on a bicycle. That would be very complicated. Take a long time to get there. So, anyways, the electric car, I bought a used electric car. It's a Nissan Leaf. When I bought it, it's a 2013. So when I bought it, it was 3 years old, 4 years old, something like that. I don't know. Is it that old? Had to be older than that, but it had 9,000 miles on it. So it's like a brand new car. And it it was the top of the line model, Bose audio, leather seats, heated mirrors, heated steering wheel, heated seats, wind mirrors, the whole 9 yards, satellite link, home link, all kinds of crazy stuff I never use. And it was $9,000 when it was 3 or 4 years old with 9,000 miles on it. No, I'm sorry, 16,000 miles on it. I paid 9,000 for it. It was a $40,000 car for $9,000 with 16,000 miles on it. So for me, it was a no brainer. I drive to work all the time because I sit in traffic and frequently sitting there eating my frozen steak on the freeway. So it's a nice, comfortable environment for that. So now I'm really glad because gasoline costs a fortune. I haven't put any gas in one of my gas powered cars in probably 2 weeks, something like that, 3 weeks, a month. I don't know. I can't remember the last time I went to a gas station because I plug that car in at home and I get to plug it in at work. So my boss kind of buys half my fuel to get to work, but it just plugs into a regular 110 outlet. I know for you folks in Europe and stuff that probably doesn't make any sense, but basically trickle charge it at work and trickle charge it at home because I'm at work for it only takes it maybe 4 hours to trickle charge up to replace whatever I used to get to work, and same thing when I get home. And it's not a long range car; it's just barely adequate, but it's a comfortable place to sit in traffic. If you guys sit in traffic, it's a hatchback, so I got plenty of room for my groceries and stuff. I can go buy a lot of beef, fit a lot of beef in that car. So yeah, if you're paying $12 a gallon, you probably understand why an electric car is in the works. And I actually had a solar array in the backyard I built just as a project, just for something to do. And then recently I had a big installation put up on the roof. In fact, it's It's only been running just under 2 weeks. I think it's been up there, but it's already made like $300 worth of electricity in less than 2 weeks. So it's a good deal. So I guess that's how I'm going to help pay for the high prices in food is drive an electric car, get solar panels, and what else? Not buy supplements I don't need. So anyways, well, I covered all the topics. Anybody else have any questions before we go? It's good hearing from everybody. PC, I'm not sure if I've talked to PC before, but I heard from PC, Stranded 360, Vanessa, Harry Sarpanos. I didn't see Christina in here. Naughty Christina. Phil W. Who else? I guess that was it for today. But thanks for joining, everybody. It's good to hear from you guys. And like I said, I'll probably get another video out tomorrow. I still think we got some short ribs trickling out. They're scheduled anyways. We got some more short ribs in the can. I got to edit, or I don't really edit them, but I got to come up with the thumbnail and put the text in and all that stuff. So all the settings, got to go through all the settings. Oh, PC heard about it from Bart K. Well, yeah, Bart's my little Kiwi cousin. Yeah, Bart's a good guy. So I really enjoyed talking to him. Hopefully I'll schedule some time. We'll do some more videos with Bart soon. Really enjoy that little bastard. In fact, Bart sent me a Yellow Ted 2.0. It's going to be helping me out on the show hopefully soon. So look for that. Still working on that wizardry. I'm not exactly sure Ted 2.0's vocabulary is appropriate for the States, but Bart's big in the States, so should be all right? Maybe you guys got some questions for Yellow Ted 2.0. Maybe not. So until next time, you guys, eat some meat, feel better, and whatever you do, don't fall down that carpole.